Hello and welcome to Veg Around the World with me, Meenakshi Garodia. In this show, we explore one country at a time through its vegetarian cuisine. Today, the country we've chosen is Greece. Now Greece, you probably heard about Greece, right? Everybody knows about Greece. It's the cradle of Western civilization as we know it now. Greece is where literature as we know it originated, where democracy originated, where philosophy originated, where drama originated. It all came from Greece. The Olympics came from Greece. Greek gods came from Greek. So Greece is the country I've chosen. Also, I was in Greece very recently, so the food is so fresh in my mind and I can just taste it. In Greece, the food is very fresh. So what we're making today, actually we're going a little bit overboard and making a whole lot more than we normally should be making. But we're going to start off with tzatziki. Tzatziki is this dish that's made with Greek yogurt and cucumber, and it's one of my favorite things to eat. You eat it with pita bread. We're also going to have, you get olives in a lot of places. Now, I'm going to show you a very simple way of marinating olives in a spicy mix. So you just buy your most basic, cheapest olives and you mix them and it tastes very tasty. And there's something about having marinated it yourself, which you enjoy and your guests enjoy. Then we're going to have spinach pie. Now, I couldn't make Greek food without making spinach pie, even though it's the scariest thing to make. Till you make it the first time. After that, it's suddenly not so scary. And you need to use phyllo dough for that. Now, phyllo dough is made out of flour, water, and oil. But if you try to make it at home, it's pretty much a nightmare. I think nobody makes it at home anymore. Very, very, very few pastry chefs make it. Otherwise, it's normally made in a factory, in a machine, because they're so thin. In fact, it's very difficult to handle. And despite the end result turning out well, very often you have a little disaster while making it. And I've made it quite a few times, and I still never know whether the phyllo is going to come out right when you take it out of the frozen stage or not. But because I was using phyllo, I said, hey, let me make the spinach pie, the cheese pie, and baklava. So we're going to make 3 things with phyllo dough. And we're going to make vegetarian moussaka. Eggplant is a very big part of Greek cuisine. So we're going to use eggplant and potatoes and tomatoes. A lot of original Greek people are like, you're making what? Veg moussaka? But it's very tasty, so try it out. And the drink. Now in Greece, all the drinks are pretty much alcoholic. So we're going to have ouzo with it. Ouzo is this liquor which has anise flavor, and I'll show you how they have it. They have it in 2 different ways. So essentially because the vegetarian dishes are like mezzes or appetizers, you normally have that with a chilled glass of ouzo. So we're going to spread it out. As usual, I'm going to start with the things that take the longest to make. And frankly, that's the spinach pie and the moussaka. So for that, we have 2 dishes right here. So we're going to cook everything in olive oil, right? Because it's Greek food. So don't skimp on the oil. In Greek food, oil does make a difference. So I'm going to take a little bit of oil. What I have here is 1 large red onion. You only need around half. So I'm going to put half in each of them. Also, what we need is spinach. Now for the spinach pie, I just use frozen spinach. What's interesting about Greek food is everything for some reason needs to have the water taken out. You take the water out of the spinach, you take it out of the cucumber, you take it out of everything. With spinach pie, it makes sense because essentially you're going to be layering pastry with spinach. And if the spinach has water, which spinach has a lot of water, then what's going to happen is it's going to get soggy. And you really want crispy, yummy spinach pie. So I just put it in this, and instead of traditionally you put salt, you drain it, I have a shortcut for it. I just put it in the microwave for around 4 minutes. And I'll leave it. While we're waiting for this to heat, I'm going to do my moussaka in this one and my spinach pie in this one. For the moussaka, we're going to use some crushed garlic. Garlic tastes better if you cook it a bit. So we're going to put in around 1 teaspoon of garlic. We're going to put in some fresh oregano. Essentially, the spices used are dill, parsley, and oregano. You can see these onions are already getting pink. You can cook this on high. You don't need to wait. Now we're going to go ahead and add dill. Dill is in the spanakopita, the spinach pie. So you have to add a good amount of dill, so around 1.5 tablespoons. And we're going to add parsley to both. I'm just going to use my hands. As you know, I like using my hands in cooking. The oregano goes only in the moussaka. I'm also going to put some dried oregano. It actually tastes very different. So in Greek food, it's a good idea to use both. And in the moussaka, we're going to use a little cumin powder, like half a teaspoon. And we're going to use spring onions in the spinach pie. I wish you could smell this. You can see the fumes rising, but it is so delicious. I think the thing about cooking is not to be scared of trying stuff. And you know, you try cooking in your own kitchen, there's nobody to watch you. So you just do whatever you want to do. And if it doesn't turn out well, it doesn't turn out well. What's the big deal? In the moussaka, we're going to add, this is 3 wine ripened tomato. I think this quality, I've also used a can. It comes out fine. But I just used fresh tomatoes right now because that's what I had. I'm going to add a little salt. So in Greek food, kosher salt actually works well. So salt is always to taste. I personally take more salt than most people do. I'm going to let this cook. The water has come out of the spinach. So what you do is, this is very environmentally unfriendly, but you just take paper towels and you fold it and you press down, and it will absorb most of the water. Now you just add it. Now you add a little salt, but not too much, because in the spinach pie we're going to be adding feta cheese. Feta cheese is extremely salty. There, you can see how dry it is. I'm going to add a little salt. Now, I don't know if you know this, but when you add salt to any green vegetables, it gives water. So normally you don't add salt till the last minute. It also changes the color. But we frankly don't care too much right now because it's going to go inside a pie. And I'm going to do a salt test on it later. Now the tomato looks done. To give it, now moussaka normally has a meat sauce. Because we don't have meat, it's vegetarian food, we're going to use beans as a protein substitute. So this is a can of pinto beans which I've washed out. And you just stir it in. And you let it cook down. So for the moussaka, what we're going to do, we want a meat sauce kind of consistency. So we're going to take a potato masher and work it. This is tough work, but the end result is worth it. And that's the reason I chose this one for the moussaka, the flat pan. My Greek pronunciation is not the best, and I apologize to all the Greek people out there. And this is done. I'm going to set this aside. Give it a good stir. Spread it out and actually turn off the heating, because we don't need it to be. It's going to evaporate a bit so that it's dry a bit, and that's fine with us. And I think the spinach is done too. Perfect. I'm going to turn this off too. So the next step for the moussaka is we're going to be layering. We're going to make a big dish basically. In the big dish, what's going to happen is we're going to layer eggplant mixture, potato, eggplant. So we need to cook the eggplant. So I'm actually going to take this out and let it cool down because I want to use this to cook my eggplant. For the potato, I've taken 2 medium-sized potatoes and cut them very thin. What I'm going to do in this is I'm going to add a little water and put it in the microwave for maybe 3 minutes. We are going to make a mixture of feta and eggs, and we're going to add the spinach to that. So I personally like to use these slabs of feta. If you look at it, it's feta in brine, that's salt water. You just take the feta pieces out. Again, I'm not shy about using my hands. I like a lot of cheese in it. You could go with less cheese if you wanted, but this is good for me. And you take a spoon or something and you cut into it and you crumble it. Feta crumbles easily. So it's very salty, but it's also got the lowest fat. And feta is frankly my favorite cheese. Once it's well crumbled, we're going to crack 3 eggs into it. You have to make sure that the really big pieces are smooshed. Ideally, you should let the spinach cool down a little bit. This mixture by itself is so tasty and it's pretty healthy. So at this stage, I'm going to add a little pepper. I like pepper, so and there's no other like hot stuff in it, so I'm going to give it a good dash. And now for the moment of truth, we're going to do the taste test. It needs nothing. We're going to set this aside till we put it inside phyllo. I'm going to just clear up a little bit and be right back. I'm just going to spoon out the moussaka, and in this one I'm going to make the mixture for the tiro pita, which is the cheese pie. The cheese pie is essentially just feta with eggs, salt and pepper. It's very simple. If you're already working with phyllo, make some. Anything, any of these pies, spinach, cheese, baklava, they freeze really well. So there's no problems of leftovers. So in that one, I'm going to mix 1, 2 with 3 eggs. What I've been very efficient when I've been gone. I've cleaned this out. I've put in the moussaka in this, and I've mixed the cheese with the eggs. Now, essentially, just in case you were wondering, you put in egg because A, it acts like a binding agent, B, it puffs up. So if you ever eat Greek pies, they're always like, you feel like the stuffing's bursting out. That's because of the egg. We can add, can or cannot add, but I always go for the spicy, so I'm going to add pepper. If you have white pepper, that's a good option. Greeks use a lot of white pepper, especially in things like tzatziki. You don't need to add salt. Now this is ready. We can put it aside. If you were adventurous, you could add spices like oregano, rosemary, dill, whatever you felt like. Now we're going to start on the eggplants because they take a good 5-7 minutes to cook. So we're going to put this on high. And eggplant does really well with oil. And this is one time you need to put a good helping of oil. I know it's a lot, but there's a lot of eggplant. And eggplant just tastes so good if you put the right amount of oil and fry it. So while this is heating up, I'm just going to put in all the eggplant in this. This is one Italian eggplant cut really thin. I've overlapped a little bit, but that's not a big deal. So we're going to let this cook. We're going to flip it in a bit. Now we're going to look at this eggplant. See, some of the pieces look a bit, they should be soft. But the other ones we're going to turn. And some of them look like the oil ran out. So we're going to put a little more oil. I know. It's not the happiest of things, but it's the tastiest of things, so it's okay. So we're going to make one more thing for moussaka, and the most interesting, it's a very interesting tip. So in a lot of cuisines we have white sauce or bechamel sauce or roux. Very often they get lumpy. So my mom, who was an amazing cook, taught me this really cool trick. You take around a cup of milk. I'm just eyeballing it, but you can measure it. And you take around a 1/4 cup of regular flour. And you take this cold, nothing is heated yet, and you whisk it together till it's perfectly smooth. So you can actually make this fat free as well. You don't really need to add the butter. This will thicken, but we are going to add butter. So what we're going to do is we're going to melt some butter and pull out the potatoes. Meanwhile, this eggplant is done, so I'm going to turn it off and move it off the heat. So when we take out the potatoes, there, this looks good. It's like semi-done. We're just going to leave it there, and we're going to melt our butter. Meanwhile, we're going to start this on the stove. We don't need to stir it constantly. So we're just going to take some butter, which is melted nicely, like a 1/3 cup, and add it to this. And we keep whisking it. See, it's already thickened. It's almost ready. This is so easy. By the way, if you ever make this and it does get lumpy, just use a hand blender or a food processor. It comes out smooth and it doesn't taste any better or worse for it. The only thing we're going to add to this is a little salt, but I don't want it to burn. You can see it's thickened very nicely. There. I'm going to turn it off and add just a little bit of salt to it. You could add pepper too, but I'm fine. I think my food is flavorful enough. Kosher salt is actually saltier than regular salt. There. This is done. We're going to get a baked dish and assemble the moussaka, and it's ready to go. Because we already have melted butter, you just coat your baked dish with some butter. Then you're going to layer it with eggplant to start with. It's a bit hot, otherwise I normally just use my hands. We're going to put one layer of the mixture. Pretty much half of it. For a baked dish this side, we'll be able to put it twice. Then we're going to put the potatoes. What we're going to do is we'll just take the back of a spoon and we'll let it go down the sides. I like doing this in a transparent dish because you can see a little bit of the layers. There. Now we're going to put this in the oven for around 40 minutes. I have the oven on. You can bake it either 350 for longer or 450 for smaller. I just go with the 450. Now the honey for the baklava, we pretty much take honey. Normally people use sugar and water, but I like using pure honey because Greece is sort of associated with honey. What's interesting is the Greek only knew honey as the sugar source till they came to India, and they could not believe that you were getting sugar out of these plants rather than from the bees. So we're going to take a lot of honey. We're going to heat it with some cinnamon, and cloves, and a dash of water. Now buy frozen phyllo in the market, In the US at least, it's easily available. I don't know about the rest of the world. You have to be very careful because it can't dry out. I like to use these silicone mats. Again, as I said, it's very, I've used it many times. Sometimes defrosting your phyllo is very important, and sometimes one does a decent job of it, but other times it doesn't defrost right, and then the sheets will stick to each other. So you roll it out gently. Let's see what the phyllo gods have in store for us, whether this is a sticky time or an easy time. See, this one didn't defrost perfectly, so a lot of it is torn. The good thing is it doesn't, you can still use it. It might not look as pretty, but phyllo doesn't always look pretty. You take a pan. I like using these cake pans because they have a raised side so it doesn't leak. You coat it with butter. Now, I have experimented phyllo with olive oil. Like, I was hoping I can just spray it and make it easier rather than coat each layer with butter, and I've used nothing, and frankly it tastes so much better with butter that it's not worth trying anything else. So you take each sheet at a time, you try not mutilating it too badly, and you layer it. What I do is I put an extra silicone mat on the side to help me pick it up later. There. This is not so bad, and it looks pretty good. We're going to do this 7 times because I want at least 7 layers for each of my things. Take the next one. I'm going to do it this way so that the torn part is mixed up. It's not so bad today. I've had it much worse where it's sticking at every point. It goes pretty fast if you're messy and you're not very, very particular. There, this is my 7th one now. I'm going to start off with the baklava. What you do for baklava is very simple. Once you have these 7 layers, I buy the bit pieces, which is actually the cheapest too, but it's ideal, otherwise you need to crush it. And you strew it in. You put a good amount of raw walnuts. Then you pick it up and you just fold it across, and you tuck in the corners. You give it a brush with butter. Then you take a really sharp knife and you score it. If you don't score phyllo, it's very difficult to work with, cut later. Then you put it in the oven. And you start on the next one. Okay, so this is 7 layers. We're going to do the cheese next. Give it a good stir and pour it in. I just poured the whole thing in. It gets it a little puffy, but I love this mixture. Spread it out. Fold it. A bit like hold it, but fold it, fold it. Tuck in the corners. Brush with. And score. And we start off on the spinach pie. Same steps. Butter, butter. The thing is, there's nothing like too much butter. It is so tasty, and the phyllo tastes so good, so good. Now we're going to add the spinach mixture. This is too much mixture for this much, and you to try to make sure that you don't take the watery part, because this still had water in it. I think that's good. Maybe a teeny bit more. You can also make spinach triangles, but I find that quite difficult to do. Tuck in the corners. This takes a lot of butter. That was like 1.5 sticks of butter right there. So now that we're done with the big dishes, which took a lot of time, we're going to start with the simple dishes. The first thing I'm going to make is a traditional Greek salad. Now, a traditional Greek salad does not have any leaves in it. It has onions, cucumbers, green peppers, tomatoes. I buy this kind of cucumber. It doesn't have too much seed, and you don't need to get the skin off. It's quite tasty. And it has this pepper. And I just wanted to show you the pepper before I cut it. It's actually not spicy at all. So you can go ahead and put quite a bit of it. So I'm going to start by layering. I'm going to start with the bottom as tomato. Then I'm going to add the cucumbers. Then you put raw onion rings. So you cut them, but because onions are so strong, I like the way the rings look. It's kind of pretty. I think that's a lot of onion. I don't like too much raw onion. You could actually slice the peppers further, but again, I like the way they look. We'll put some olives in it. This is just your standard olive. You top that off with a slab of feta, just like this. You sprinkle these around, and then you make the dressing. Now, my favorite way of making a dressing is in these Ziploc bags. It's a lot of fun. You take this, you take olive oil, salt, pepper, lemon, and a lot of oregano, dried and fresh. Then you shut the lid and you shake it up. This emulsifies the mixture. It's a lot of fun. You can give it to kids, but even yourself, if you're doing this in a glass jar, if it slips, it's not fun. I've had that happen. Then you do a taste test. This is perfect. You pour it right on top. You can scrape out the sides, and your salad's ready. It's as simple as that. Some of the things in the oven smell done. I'm going to just check quickly. Yep. The baklava is ready. And so is the moussaka. What we're going to do is we're going to pour the honey on the baklava through a strainer. You can, of course, add more honey if it's not sweet enough for you. This is sweet enough for me. Next we are going to make is the olives. So what you do is you take a jar and you take out all the water from it. We take some olive oil in a shuttable pan. I just use this because I can serve my olives in this after that. We are going to add some fresh oregano and fresh rosemary, half a teaspoon of garlic. We don't need salt because this is salty enough, but we do need some pepper. And some sriracha. A little spice makes it so much yummier. We can stir it up. Add the can of olives to it. Shut it, hold this one more carefully and shake it up. See, look at it. This is just beautiful and yummy. This will last you a while, so you can keep it for at least a good 3-4 days. And the last thing, but not the least, is the tzatziki. For that, we're going to use, you can make it just with Greek yogurt, but I prefer some sour cream in it. It changes the consistency. So I use, this is a 1/4 measure. I'm going to use a half cup of sour cream with 2 cups of yogurt. In this, I'm going to make another mixture. We're going to put olive oil, a lot of dill, some lemon, garlic, pepper. White pepper is better, but it's okay. You're going to mix it up. And then we're going to mix this whole mixture into this. I think I didn't add salt. Again, the all important taste test. A little more lemon and pepper. Then what we're going to add to this is cucumber. This is just a grated cucumber. What you do is you take out all the water. So I just used a food processor for this. It's too labor intensive to do it by hand. And it's actually more even. As I said, in Greek food, you're taking out water all the time. In fact, Greek yogurt is essentially yogurt with the water taken out. So a lot of the carb comes out with the water, and because of that, Greek yogurt has way more protein. That way more protein was not a deliberate pun, but so you take out all the water from the cucumber. And then you add the whole thing to your mixture. Again, the all important taste test. This is just right. And I'm back. Before we serve out the dishes, we're still waiting for the spinach pie. I'm going to tell you a little bit about ouzo. Ouzo is a national drink, and you can see it's a transparent liquid, but the way it's drunk is actually really cold with a bit of ice normally. But what you do is you take ouzo in a glass and you top it off with a little bit of water, and you'll see as soon as you put water it becomes cloudy, and that's how you have it. It's a bit like licorice because it's anise, but I personally, or like fennel, but it is so tasty. Let me check on the spinach pie again. I'll take it. And now all that's left to do is serve up and eat. So that's what I'm going to do. Oops, that was hot. This is a bit of spinach pie which I'm mutilating. Not to worry. As I said, there are very few bad options. I'll take some cheese pie. Some moussaka. This will be messy, but nothing can be done about that. Some baklava. So if you see, the better you score it, the easier it is to cut later. Okay. I'm going to take the appetizers on a separate plate. Some tzatziki with pita, some olives on the side, and this will need some chopping. And there you have it, a complete 6-course Greek meal with some ouzo. Bon appetit.